Welcome to part one of this collection of encouragement series. So, this episode and other encouragement episodes that are to follow in the future are just some sound bites from amazing topics and conversations that have been discussed throughout the seasons of Dem Bois Podcast. And so, these episodes are meant for you to listen to in the car, meant for you to listen to before clocking in for your shift at a job that's toxic and mentally taxing. Right, these episodes are meant to listen to before going into your people house or anytime you need to hear someone verbally validate your existence and to remind you that you are worthy. So I hope that you enjoy this episode.
Dem boys, amplifying, transmitting color voices, yeah, we here making noise, yeah. Visibility equals possibility, you know we them boys, yeah. Amplifying, transmitting color voices, yeah, we here making noise, yeah.
Welcome to Dem Bois Podcast. I am your host, Shawn Aaron, he, him, his, and welcome to this encouragement episode. These are short sound bites of wisdom and affirmation from powerful conversations across our seasons. So my hope is that you carry these words into your day whenever you need a reminder that you are worthy. And so these episodes and sound bites from different episodes throughout the seasons of Dem Bois Podcast, and we're on season 4 now, right? And so these are meant to be inspiring, encouraging, and thought-provoking. So let's get into it. So the very first clip is from episode 85, Exploring Non-Binary Identity and Queer Masculinity with Kales. And so within the soundbite, Kales reflects on how their gender does not have to align in any conventional way.
I wouldn't say, oh, I was a girl. I wouldn't engage maybe some previous iterations of myself for fear that people would say, well, if you're saying you were this then, well, how can you be this now? And this doesn't, align. But part of my research is actually doing what we're doing right now. I was doing interviews with different interlocutors, and I was interviewing this, Black trans dude, and he just kept talking about his girlhood. And I was like, wow, like, do you feel like you had a girlhood? And he was like, absolutely. And I was like, well, how do you reconcile that? And he was like, that some girlhoods end in manhood. Like, who said they can't? And as soon as he said that, it was like something in my brain just exploded where I was like, wow, like how I view my life and all the iterations of myself that I've been, they don't have to align in this like conventional way.
Sometimes freedom is found in letting go of other people's definitions and perceptions of you, right? And so it's about living in your truth, and it doesn't even have to equal a conventional way. So this next clip is from episode 83, Loving Yourself Through Gender Dysphoria with Tommy Colby McCrae. And so within this episode, at the time, Tommy was going through a naming process and wasn't quite sure of what they wanted their chosen name to be. And so since recording this episode, they now go by Ezra. And so if you hear this episode and you hear me say Tommy, you will know why. And so they shared a message of anyone that was just beginning to discover their identity.
I just want to tell to a young trans kid like myself, because I'm 33, but that's still learning their identity, it's going to be okay.
Even in uncertainty, you are becoming, and becoming is more than enough. So now let's hear another word of encouragement. So this next clip comes from episode 81 with LaShawn Noel. And the title of this episode was Influencing Fitness and Health Inside and Out. And so LaShawn offers some powerful advice about not comparing your journey to someone else's.
I mean, I can say something along the lines of everything isn't a reflection, meaning one person's journey is not yours. To compare yourself to the next man or woman who is transitioning, that's not a seed you want to plant, because you never know what you have that they may not have. And they may have something that you may want, but sometimes that person may be looking at you for what you have. So that's a lesson that I had to learn at the very beginning of my transition, because I was surrounded by trans men. When I was 3 months plus into my transition, I met a group of guys who basically watched me complain about myself and comparing myself to them. And they basically told me to chill out. But my big brother, Rico, he was the one to tell me that, like, stop comparing yourself. Stop comparing yourself, stop comparing yourself, stop comparing yourself. Because all that's going to do is, one, make you feel bad. And two, when a trans man starts transitioning, I feel like the mental is so impacted in those first couple months, because you can't cry, you can't do anything. Or everybody's different. I couldn't cry. So my outlets were like restricted for a little while. So yeah, don't be hard on yourself. That's all I'm going to say. Don't be hard on yourself, because I had to grow out of it. And for those listening, you will grow out of that. And it's just beneficial if you love on yourself a little bit more every day.
One thing I got from this episode 81 with LaShawn was your path is your own, right? Honor it. Love yourself a little bit more each day. And to know that, you know, what I say on the show all the time, we're not monolithic, right? We all have our own different journeys. We all have our own different experiences. And in every path is that we choose is our own, right? And you can't go into somebody else's path. You can't walk in somebody else's shoes, right? That's a phrase of, you know, learning how to walk in someone else's shoes. But the reality of it is that you can't, right? And so you have to carve out this journey and this life that's meant for you, right? We all have a job to do while we're physically here in this realm, right? And so you have to really learn and to figure yourself out and to find out what that means for you. And so let's move on to the next one. And so this next one is a clip from episode 78 with E.L. Winston. And I really, really enjoyed this episode because, for one, I consider E.L. an elder of mine, right? And not an elder as in they medically transitioned many years ago, but an elder as in they're a little bit older than I am. And so with age comes a little bit more wisdom, and it comes with a little bit more experience, right? And so I hold EL in high regard as someone who has navigated this space at an older age than I am currently, right? And so episode 78, how to put help and hope into action, right? And EL leaves us with words of resilience and hope.
Live loud, live proud, and love the same way. And my favorite saying is, don't forget, if you can look up, you can get up from any situation. If you can see the sky, you can reach it.
Ooh, that was a word, right? If you can look up, you can get up. If you can see the sky, you can reach it. And when you reach it, remember this, right? I know there was a time in my own journey. And if you go back to season 1 of when I did a solo episode of surviving homelessness, this word that EL gave was something that I had to tell myself back then when I was just a young adult, of even though I was going through something in that moment, right? And this is outside of gender identity. This is outside of all of that. But I was in a moment where I didn't see moving forward. And I didn't see, now in 2025, I'm 44 years old, and I didn't see myself as a 44-year-old, right? But what I had to do was look up. And so when I started to look up and look to the future, I was able to get up. So this is definitely a word. And I would love for you to take that little bit with you. Anytime you're struggling, anytime you're having a hard time with moving forward, just look up.
Hey, this is Joel Simu, production assistant for Dem Bois Podcast. Love visual storytelling? then you'll want to check out our YouTube channel. We're bringing you exclusive interview shorts and taking you behind the scenes with content you won't find anywhere else. Find us on YouTube at Dem Bois Inc. or click the link in our show notes.
Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode. So from whatever platform that you're listening to this week's episode on, please be sure to give us 5 stars. And if there's something within this episode, whether it's the guest or something that I said, or maybe the guest said that resonated with you, be sure to go and leave us a comment on this episode or leave us a comment on the show. So what happens is, if you feel like it resonated with you, I'm sure there's someone out there who hasn't even heard about Dem Bois Podcast. It may resonate with them, and actually it could save someone's life. To hear these stories, right? Because we believe that visibility equals possibility, but there isn't any possibility if we aren't visible. So if you go and leave comments, the more comments you leave, the more 5-star ratings you leave, then this podcast will be available to more folks to see. And so we want to be visible. We want to be out there. We want folks to know that we're here and that our stories are out there for them to listen to. And so if you could do me a favor, please go ahead and rate the show or leave a comment. Until next time, see you on the next episode. This next clip is from episode 96, which was the very last episode of season 3. And in episode 96, it was our season finale, and it was an episode of empowerment with Alexander Ray Simon Perez. Alexander spoke about worthiness and what it means to keep choosing yourself.
I want everyone who's feeling that right now to take a deep breath and remember that you've gotten through something you thought was inescapable before. Even daring to choose to be yourself is something that many will never understand. And the irony in this is that those who are trying to make us seem villainous are really the ones hiding from themselves. So don't be afraid of fear itself, because you've chosen to be you with all it comes with. In the face of probably losing family, in the face of being persecuted, you've chosen to be you. So trust that. Trust that we are protected, and that's why I say faith and trust, and it's a relationship, just like how we said earlier, your relationship with yourself, it's also the relationship between you and everything, and that takes some patience, that takes a lot of patience, because personally, I was told a lot about what wasn't possible for me, or that it would be hard. You see what I'm saying? So that programming running in my subconscious, attracted some unfavorable situations, and sometimes and this is not unique to trans people, this is all people, sometimes you seek what's familiar, and so I would say don't seek a familiar pain in the atmosphere. Cling on to what feels good, and what feels uplifting responsibly, and have community.
Faith, trust, and community. Like, these are like the foundations of our survival and our thriving. And so that episode 96 closed out our season 3, and, it closed out a collection with reminders, right? And so if you haven't had the opportunity to listen to episode 96, I would encourage you to go back and check that out. Alexander has some powerful knowledge about choosing yourself and about how to solidify your worthiness. So this next clip is my final one. And I want to let you all in on a little secret. And so when I record episodes for Dem Bois Podcast, whether it's a solo episode like this one where I'm by myself, or whether it's with a guest, my method, my method, like my work, the way I work, right? And so my workflow, that's the word I'm looking for. My workflow is I record and then I hand it off the audio to Jasmine, who is our podcast producer from Pink Lady Productions. And I don't listen to it again until right before the episode goes live. So right after it's been edited and all the things are put together to make a final episode, right? And not because I don't want to hear it again, but it's my way, right? Maybe the conversation was heavy. Maybe it provoked some thoughts in me, or maybe sometimes I just want to separate one episode recording, one guest from another guest that I may have, right? And so I don't want to kind of mix all of that up. Right. And so I have my process of where I record and I walk away from it, and then I don't listen to it until months later. And so this particular clip comes from episode 59. And when I listen to this episode, and so first let me give a backstory for folks who haven't listened to episode 59. So the guest, Wagner Wilma, is someone who currently lives in Uganda. And so Uganda has, it really is illegal to be queer in Uganda. You can get life in prison. You could get the death penalty, right? So in this community in Uganda, folks are pretty much fighting for survival, literally, right? So you either conform to what society wants you to be, or you reject all things, right? And you be yourself, but then it's dangerous and it's fearful. And so within this episode, one of the things that when I re-listened to this episode right before it went live, and sometimes this happens, right? Sometimes I listen to the conversation. I'm like, oh shit, I don't remember saying that. I don't remember us saying that. Or, oh, I didn't remember saying that. And I may laugh. I may have some type of reaction to the episode because I haven't listened to it in so long. It's something that's fresh to me. And that's also another reason why I like to step away and then come back and listen to the episode later so that it'll be fresh, right? I receive it in a different way than when I was right after recording it. And so this particular clip that I'm about to share with you was something that when I heard it, first I said, God damn, I said that. That was my first reaction, right? But then I began to cry because what I said in this final clip, right, it was something that I wish that someone had told me in the beginning of my transition, or just in the beginning of my gender journey in general, right? And I just wish that somebody had gave me this permission to be myself. And so I was talking to the guest about choosing themselves, no matter what, right? Choose yourself. And that can go in many different ways, right? You can, and it doesn't have to be related to gender identity. It can be related to anything about choosing yourself. Because at the end of the day, you have to choose you. Nobody's going to love you like you love you. No one's going to treat you like you treat yourself. And no one especially won't treat you or love you if you don't set those expectations or boundaries for folks to love you and treat you in the ways that you want to be treated, right? And so this next clip was something I just really spoke on the importance of choosing yourself over everything and everyone. This is coming from me, that we don't know each other and we live across the world from one another. But I want to tell you that I love you and that you are enough. You know, it's easier said than done, right? But it's like, do not give into the idea of not being enough. You are enough. You deserve to be here. You deserve everything in life that you are supposed to get as a person and an individual. And, you know, I can't tell you not to worry about your family or friends, or your family, I would say, accepting you, because that's very hard to not have the acceptance from your family. Because really, family members, if they don't accept you for who you are, that's not love, right? The most important thing in this world is you. The most important thing is your peace, your happiness, and your well-being. And if other people in your life is not contributing to that, they don't deserve to be there with you. And that's just the truth, right? And I know that's hard. That's easy. It's easier said than done. But there was a point in my life, and I'm not saying to do this, right? This journey in your life is yours. And I can only give suggestions. I can only share and be transparent about how I rolled in my life. But when I came out years ago, when I was 18, and then as I transitioned over time, right? I transitioned in my early 30s. Hey, I walked away from a lot of people, and I even walked away from my mom and my parents, my dad. I told my dad, as far as I'm concerned, I'll never have to talk to you again in life. And I won't say that was easy. It was hard, but at the end of the day, I chose myself, because we come into this world alone and we die alone. And so you have to choose you. And so I encourage you. I really want to encourage you, because I care about you as a person, as an individual, as somebody that's of importance in this world. And I encourage you to choose you. And that's it. Don't worry about if mom don't want to have you for who you are. All right, mom, I love you, but you're going to have to answer to that on the other side of this world. But for right now, I'm choosing myself, and I'm choosing my peace and my happiness. So I challenge you I challenge you and encourage you to do that. Choose you. And you will find that at first it's hard. That it's legitimately hard to do that. But you'll find as time goes on, you will collect more peace within yourself because you chose yourself. So I just want to say that and encourage you to choose yourself. When you choose yourself, you choose peace. And peace is the ground from which everything else can grow, right? And so as I am thinking about, the clip that you all just heard, I can reflect back on why did it make me cry in the first place. And not only that, I wish that somebody had said that to me in the past, but in that moment when I was speaking to someone else, I felt like I was speaking life into this guest. And I always laugh because I always say, at my age, at being 44, I always give unsolicited old man advice. So I'm starting to get to that age, right? I have a lot of experience. I have a lot of life experience and a lot of things that I went through, and I've gained a lot of stuff. And so sometimes a lot of people confide in me. And so sometimes I give that unsolicited advice and wisdom. But when I re-listened to this audio before this episode went live the first time, I was just like, it was two things that I said. I just spoke life into this person. And I'm saying that I spoke life because after this episode, they returned back to me and said, that advice that you gave me was golden. And I did just that. Right. And so I spoke life into this person. But not only that, I felt in that moment that I was living in my purpose. And so that's what this podcast is about, right? This is about being visible. This is about showing possibility. This is about us sharing our lives and our stories for other folks to listen and to know, right, what is possible and to learn about our journeys, right? We're not all this negative connotation that's in the media, right? And we're at a time in the political climate where people are attempting to erase us, right? Erase our history and just erase us in general, right? And, in so many intersectionalities that make up me. I'm Black, right? I'm a trans man, like all of these different things, right? That every piece of my identity is under attack. And so, and this is also the point of these encouragement episodes, right? Because they all tie together, right? We talk about, not comparing yourself to others. Some of the clips talking about being okay, solidifying your worthiness, right? Even being told that I love you. And so it is meant to be inspiring. It's meant to be encouraging, and it's meant to just be just enough to get you to the next moment, right? And so thank you so much for listening to this encouragement episode. Remember, visibility equals possibility, and your existence is powerful. Your existence is political, right? And we need you here, right? And so I want to say, once again, my name is Shawn Aaron, he, him, his, and I'll see you on the next episode. Take care.